What's up, guys? It's your boy Zowoki back at with another Zowoki video reaction type one. And I wasn't going to make a video on this, but this literally happened while I was on vacation for the past 3 days. And I wanted to make a video on this because it is pretty much the talk about that submarine that went down with 5 individuals for a Titanic tourist attraction to go see it, whatever have you, in this makeshift looking submarine that looks no better than a 95 Honda Civic or a Honda type van. It only holds a certain amount. It's controlled by a freaking PS4 or game controller. It has TV screens for the windows, so it's not actually looking at the flipping Titanic. It's got like one little porthole, I guess, whatever have you. But the overall thing is this Titanic tourist expedition was cut short within an hour and a half into it. And like, what was it? I mean, the Titanic itself is like almost 2,000 miles down, okay? We're talking pressures unbelievable. We're talking about darkness. We're talking about everything that could go wrong. It's not like outer space, okay? You're going from atmospheres of what we have on Earth to 0-degree atmosphere. Not water, okay? I wanted to look into it because apparently they just uploaded Titanic tourist submarine rescue. Is it even possible? What's been happening? How much more oxygen do they have? What's going to happen in the next 24 hours? I wanted to watch it, so make sure you guys subscribe before we go any farther if you guys like these kind of reactions. I'm typically a reaction nerd type channel, but I want to get into this because the stuff that I've heard about this submarine, I mean, I've heard it's had how many different tests, it failed. These 5 people, billionaires, threw $250,000 per one or whatever have you to go on this expedition, but they knew the risks, they knew the complications, they knew the possibilities of not coming back, and they still went. You couldn't pay me, myself, you couldn't pay me $1 billion to go in this vessel and go under the water. The way this thing looks, hell no, okay? I've seen the submarine. It looks like something that you bought that was supposed to be on Amazon, and you get it, and it was actually from wish.com, and it looks like this paper mache something that a 3rd grader made, and you're like, this doesn't look like the picture. That's what it looks like, okay? But we're going to take a look at this video, a couple of videos that what's going to happen in the next how long. I still can't believe that a controller is something like this is controlling it. They're like, yeah, it goes forward, it goes left, it goes right. You push a button. It's like an elevator. It just goes down, it goes back up. It can't be that simple, okay? We have naval submarines, nuclear submarines that take so many people to control, and you're telling me this makeshift looking 5-person sub, apparently one of a kind apparently, is down underneath the sea and now they can't find it? Apparently they've put buoys down there that can hear up to like 13,000 feet or whatever. Apparently they've been hearing knocking like in Morse code kind of thing. Obviously oxygen is going to be a big part of this because once they run out, they're going to pass out, and which we don't want. Obviously when we want the rescue, we want them to come home and be returned to their families and so forth like that. But I'm not saying anything, but things are starting to look like a less percentage here. But with that being said, let's get in the video and see what they have about the rescue operations, if it's even possible, or if, I mean, apparently they have thousands and thousands of people looking for these guys. So let's take a look.
Covering right now, and this has been a big one.
Yeah, look at this thing. This thing looks like it got from wish.com or Teamboo or whatever that new website is called. It does not look good.
Tracking very closely. Let's get to the latest on the search for that missing.
And you got all these things that are exposed, and no.
Submersible carrying 5 people to the wreckage of the Titanic.
OCEANGATES.
A Canadian military surveillance aircraft has detected underwater noises amid that search. The Coast Guard not specifying what it believes the noises could be, but
it's probably from whales.
Quite a bit of speculation. This all comes as the Coast Guard has said the submersible likely has less than 24 hours here of breathable.
And this was posted 5 hours, so they're looking at 19 hours now.
oxygen level.
Give or take.
Chip McCord is a retired captain in the U.S. Navy and a senior lecturer in the Department of Mechanical Engineering at MIT. He joins us now live to talk more.
It does
about
not look
all
like
of this. Thank you so much for taking the time to be here.
Thanks for having me.
Of course. So first off, just kind of tell me your overall thoughts as you have watched all of this play out over the last several days here.
Well, what everyone needs to understand is this is really deep. It's 12 to 13,000 feet in the water, and there are only very few vehicles, either manned or unmanned, that can go that deep in the ocean. And so to be able to get to them
hard.
Will be challenging, and to recover them. Now, the phased approach that you need to have is first you need to find the submersible, and then the second thing is you need to inspect it, and then the third thing is you need to try and recover it. All very difficult down at that depth.
So I guess the question becomes, and this is something that we've heard a lot of people speculate on, but what are the possibilities of what could have happened to this submersible?
Well, they've done a pretty thorough search, I believe, on the surface, and so most likely it has not surfaced and they missed it. So that, I would say, is a very small possibility.
So it's still under the water.
On the surface somewhere in the ocean. Again, remember, the ocean's very big.
Could it have filled with water and it's on the ocean floor?
So it means it's probably underwater, and it cannot surface. And so that can be a number of reasons.
It's a big
why.
paperweight.
These things normally carry ballast on board to help it go down, and then it drops its ballast at the bottom and then comes back up. So it could be that it had trouble releasing its ballast. Other thing, it could be ensnared in some kind of cable or net or something down there that prevents it from coming up. And then there's other worse scenarios where the submarine has imploded.
Which is...
There's no evidence that has happened.
Right. And one thing that we have heard a lot also over the last several days is really just the fact that I guess this doesn't open from the inside. Is that correct?
Yeah. From what I understand, they're put inside and the hatch is then bolted down. Again,
what?
To operate at those depths, it's extremely difficult to create a submersible. You know, the U.S. Navy nuclear submarines don't even come close to operating at that depth.
Oh, yeah.
And they're very well constructed. So this thing is basically designed to keep the people inside, keep them safe from the extreme pressure outside. And there's no hatch that you open up or close or get in and out while you're underwater.
It's pretty much become their tomb.
So I guess the question becomes, how exactly does a rescue effort like this work when you're talking about so many unknowns here? You know, just how deep it is.
Just think about it. There's still, what do they say, 75% of the ocean we still have not uncovered. And we're trying to find these guys in 24 hours?
In the water there, you know, you have several different agencies out there, but there's no communication with the vessel itself. How does a rescue effort like this work?
Again, the first thing that they need to do is they need to find the submersible. Then they need to do a survey of the submersible. Normally, to locate the submersible, you would use sonar, side scan sonar, or some other kind of...
Didn't they ever think to put like GPS in this thing?
Find the submersible, then you would normally put a...
Like you know, those things that you put on your iPhone, and then like the iPhone goes missing and you try to find it? Isn't that something that's possible? Like you like pull up on your phone, you're like, oh, I'm a mile and a half away from it. I'm going to go find it. I mean, isn't that possible? Like a tracking beacon?
Operated vehicle with cameras that could inspect it. And then if you're able to, you would be able to pull the
vessel out of the water.
Submersible back up to the surface by hooking a lifting line on it.
Okay, what we're seeing right here is not what this looks like, okay?
Again, just let me emphasize that this thing is 2.5. Again, just let the submersible back up to the surface.
This right here does not look like what we've seen. What we've seen looks unfinished, unprepared, untested, unofficial, and this, yeah.
By hooking a lifting line.
It looks like a piece, like a Tylenol pill that I just took this morning for my headaches, okay? This thing ain't gonna work. I'm telling you, this does...
again, just let me emphasize that this thing is 2.5 miles down in the ocean. So that's a vehicle that goes down there. It's got 2.5 miles of cable that it's being supported.
And that cable could have
If
broke.
you're going to hook a lifting line on there, you're going to hook a 2.5 mile lifting line. Now, the U.S. Navy has experience in raising wrecks from deep ocean. They recovered a F-35 from about this depth. And a
F-35
MH-60 helicopter from 19,000 feet. So they can do that. They have the equipment to do that. And I believe their flyaway deep ocean salvage system has been deployed out there. And that is basically a whole bunch of line that is wrapped around a pulley that goes over the side. And that pulley is on top of a big shock absorber, if you will, so that when you're lifting the weight up from the bottom and the ship is moving up and down, it does not put a snap load on the line and break the line. Called motion compensation is what the term is for that.
And at this point, just in your experience, in your opinion here, is a rescue
These people are
actually
nuts.
possible considering where we are at this point on Wednesday, knowing that this went down on Sunday?
Well, again, I think we should all understand that when they give these estimates of how much time they have left of breathing atmosphere in there, those could be plus or minus. And so let's hope that they have more time than the estimate has.
Oh my gosh.
And we can always hope that they can find it quickly and get the line hooked on and pull it up. Now, it's a really, really difficult operation. And that's why you need specialized equipment and specialized people who are trained to do that. And
couldn't they just...
those are the people who are heading out to the site.
I mean, don't we have, like, right now 4K like image quality of the Titanic that was taken by a robot? Isn't that good enough? No, we gotta be close up to it and be like, yep, I was right there 2 feet away from the Titanic. We don't need that, okay? You can't... I love the Titanic. I love the story. I love the history. I love everything about it. But you're not paying me to go see this dang thing, or I'm going to pay to go see it and then possibly die in something that's the size of a minivan.
If you need something, you're several hundred miles offshore, and so it takes a long time to get it. So everything's got to be staged, put on a ship, welded down, so it doesn't roll around.
It doesn't even look finished.
Get in the right spot.
And I'm not sure if you can speak to this here, but if they do still have oxygen, can they actually still survive the conditions if they are down there? Because I imagine it is very, very cold when you're talking about, that many miles.
Well, you probably got to think about, you got to eat, you got to pee, you got to waste, okay? Secondary waste. You got to sleep at some point. I mean, you can survive, what, 2 or 3 days without sleep? I mean, water. Didn't I say water? I mean, and there's 5 people in this little type thing. Somebody's going to either eat themselves, eat the other person, or panic. I mean, they're going to go through depression. They're going to go through all the levels of grief because they're freaking out down there if the thing actually hasn't imploded. If you don't know what an implosion is, it's literally that, okay? Things that would be very scary to think about, but not wanting to go into.
Below, I guess, sea level there?
Yes, yeah, it's extremely cold, so hopefully they have some kind
It's
of
literally
thermal
being in this.
protection
I'm
for
so
themselves.
claustrophobic. Listen to this.
And lack of oxygen. I'm not sure if they have carbon dioxide scrubbers in the inside the submersible, because in addition to adding oxygen, you need to take the carbon dioxide out of
Exactly.
the atmosphere. And so you have an issue. You could have an issue of carbon dioxide
Oh my
buildup,
gosh.
even though you have enough oxygen.
Any idea what this banging noise could be? Because that was breaking news overnight, as we did hear from Canadian officials and then from the U.S. Coast Guard, that that noise could be heard underwater. Any idea what that could be?
Dolphins,
Hopefully
whales.
It's man-made, and hopefully, but it's way too early to tell. That hopefully they're investigating that. It sounded from my that I got, and again, I know probably less than you do, but that it was data taken from sonobuoys from an airplane, and
How is that
it
possible?
would be better to have a submersible down there with a sonar on it that could
Well,
actually
exactly.
hear that banging noise, and then it could guide it to where that noise is coming from.
All right. right. Thank you so much. We do appreciate you taking the time to join us here. Is there anything else that you want to add about all of this before I let you go?
No, just that I'm sure the right people are trying to do as best they can. It's an extremely, extremely difficult job to do this.
I can't even imagine. Thank you again for taking the time to be here. We appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
All right, everybody. The time is now 10:41. Over on
So the passengers that were on there, obviously I already heard who it is. It's people, a few billionaires. Was that French mariner, CEO of OceanGate, the guy that created the sub, chairman of Action Aviation, son of Shahzada. I'm butchering that. I'm sorry. Dawood. It's just ridiculous that this is even a thing. So apparently these are the 5 things that could go wrong. I could give you a lot more than 5 things, but
as hopes fade for the 5 wealthy Titanic tourists
this doesn't even look finished, man.
who vanished while exploring the wreck aboard a mini submarine, one question
How far do they go
keeps
down?
arising. What happened? It is possible that no one will ever know after the sub, called Titan, suddenly went silent hundreds of miles off the coast of Canada and around 13,000 feet underwater beside the Titanic. On board was a British billionaire,
Did it actually reach the Titanic is my question.
one of Pakistan's richest men and his son, a famed French explorer, and the CEO of the company.
Look. Okay, they got TV screens in here, okay? No portholes for them to see. Apparently he said this green button right here, you push it and the thing goes down and up. That's it, okay? And it's controlled left, right, whatever have you by this controller. He's like, yep, we got 3 of them on board just in case something happens. Do you not know that these things disconnect all the time? Just saying. What if you run out of AAA batteries? Okay, this is not a good idea.
Running the dive. They began their voyage early Sunday with 96 hours of oxygen inside the sub.
I didn't hear about
and
this
have
until
not been
Monday
heard from
evening.
Since. Submarine experts agree that 5 possible accidents are the most likely cause.
Tangled on wreckage. Oh, good
Perhaps
gosh.
the most obvious explanation is that the submersible became tangled in the wreckage of the Titanic itself.
So the Titanic could be still taking lives 100 years later. 100 or more. It went down in 1912. We're in 2023. It's been down there for 100 and how long? 12 years?
The ship
11?
split into 2 pieces as it sank back in 1912, and those sections now lie amidst a huge debris field on the seabed. Navigating the wreck is extremely dangerous, according to those who have dived it. It is possible that the sub's pilot got disoriented, perhaps after communications were interrupted, causing the craft to get snagged. Another explorer has described how a sudden undersea current swept his submarine into the wreck, getting it temporarily stuck. Titan is equipped with drop weights, which can be thrown overboard to give it extra buoyancy, potentially freeing it and helping it float to the surface.
I'm guessing it hasn't
But
worked.
if it is stuck, for example, inside the Titanic, there could be little
It can't
the
go
crew
up.
would be able to do except wait for help.
So can't we send a robot down there and check on them?
A banging noise picked up on sonar could be the trapped crew knocking on the hull of the sub to attract attention, but rescuers have still been unable to find the craft.
Power equipment. I think it's a power equipment
Titan
and
could also have suffered a power outage or equipment failure. The sub relies on batteries to power the communications, and a failure could explain why it lost contact with the surface. But they also power the engines, the lights, and the heating.
hey,
A
GoPros in there.
catastrophic failure would have left the sub dead in the water, in complete darkness, and in freezing temperatures. If that is the case, experts say the cold could kill quicker than the lack of oxygen. Questions have been raised over the quality of the sub after one passenger pulled out over fears the company building it were cutting corners. He discovered that scaffolding poles were being used as ballast, and a video game controller was being used for
Yeah.
steering.
I can't
After
believe that.
He demanded his money back. An OceanGate engineer
Smart man.
also previously quit over safety concerns about the structural integrity of the sub, and an industry body wrote a letter in 2018 criticizing the company's experimental approach. Losing power would make the sub harder to find, and there will still be the matter of getting it back to the surface.
I still can't
when
believe
its
this,
engines
dude.
aren't working. They may still be able to surface, but there is no sign of the vessel yet. Alistair Grieg, a professor of marine engineering at the University College London, said rescue options will be extremely limited if the sub is without power.
Tangled on a ghost fishing net.
Another possibility is that the sub has become tangled on a piece of debris like a fishing net. Thousands of so-called
Oh my
ghost nets
goodness.
are swept around the deep ocean after being lost by trawlermen. Back in 2005, a Russian submersible called AS-28 became tangled on just such a net while it was underwater off the Kamchatka Peninsula in far eastern Siberia. The net got caught in its propellers and caused it to sink to the seabed, with a British underwater drone brought in to cut the netting and free it.
Huh.
All 7 crew members made it safely to the surface 2 days later. But they were
Dang.
stuck under just a few hundred feet of water
Yeah.
compared to the Titan's
Thousands.
13,000. To cut the craft free, rescuers will first have to find it, and sonar is not good at distinguishing the sub from the wreckage of the Titanic scattered around it. And even if it can be cut free, the Titan will still have to make it back to the surface on its own, because transferring the crew to another vessel at that
It's
depth
impossible.
is impossible.
This is the one I would be scared about.
After the submersible suddenly stopped communicating with no explanation, a catastrophic implosion of the vessel has become a leading theory. G. Michael Harris, an experienced Titanic explorer, fears that is exactly what happened, 10,000 feet down, where the pressure is 350 times greater than at the surface.
And the quality of the sub
When a
was not good
submarine's
enough.
hull fails at depth, the pressure of the ocean will almost instantly crush it and anyone inside. Even a small fault in the carbon fiber and titanium hull could have caused the accident, and Titan's 3 previous voyages were cancelled over fears of structural fatigue. Owners OceanGate said the vessel, which features many homemade components such as hardware store washers, had been repaired since and was equipped with a sophisticated system to monitor for any problems in the hull. But if an issue had suddenly occurred deep underwater, it is doubtful the crew could have done anything in time to save themselves.
I can tell you right
Just
now,
such an incident occurred in
that
2017
company's
when the Argentinian Navy submarine ARA San Juan went missing in the San Jorge Gulf. The wreck was only located a year later, scattered deep down on the seabed. It is not known exactly what caused the accident, but it is thought an electrical failure caused it to dive beyond its crush depth, causing an implosion, killing all 44 people on board.
my
If that
gosh.
is what happened to the Titan, then the crew would have been killed instantly.
Fire?
Another possibility is a fire on board, perhaps caused by water getting into the electrics. In 2019, a blaze broke out inside the battery compartment of the Russian submarine Losharik while it was 1,000 feet underwater. Fighting the fire in corridors as narrow as a few feet, the crew managed to get Losharik back to its parent submarine, which hauled it to the surface. 14 submariners, some of the most experienced and highly decorated in the whole of the Russian
Wow.
Navy, were killed. If a similar blaze were to break out on board the Titan, then the results could easily be fatal. Even if the crew somehow got the flames under control, the fire could knock out the electronics and eat up the oxygen inside the tiny 21-foot craft.
Look at those
There is still a
ballasts. Are you kidding me? They're just being held. Bro.
We don't know about the Titan's fate or the fates of the men on board. If the craft can somehow get itself to the surface, then there is hope that they can be saved. But if it is really stuck at the bottom of the ocean, then the chances of finding them alive are slim and fading fast.
Man, I definitely am for getting them found, bringing them back, bringing them home, and getting them safe. But I mean, like you said, the clock is ticking, and it's getting worse and worse and worse. I'll definitely post a video if they are found, if things come to a light. Stay off TikTok, because the memes and the jokes are ridiculous. Okay, and it's way too soon. We haven't even found them yet, and it's bad. So, with that being said, comment your guys' thoughts down below. What do you guys think has happened to these guys? What do you think has happened to the submarine? Would you even go on an expedition like this? I want to know how many people would do this. Comment your thoughts down below. Hit the like button, not for them being missing, but for them to come home. Don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications, so if anything does arise or come about these guys being found, I will definitely be posting a reaction video to that. And then with that being said, hope you guys have a fantastic day, and we'll see you guys in the next one. So keep it real, keep it safe, and as always, keep nerding on, and we'll see you guys next time.